Black people and Black people specifically from the conscious community don't really care about Black people looking Black. They only care about it when it comes to Black women. All the while we keep hearing that Black women need to embrace their natural. They need to discard things like long weaves, straight hairstyles, European hairstyles, Caucasian concepts of beauty. And of course, for the most part, this cry usually comes from the Pan-African men like Dr. Umar Johnson. Take a listen to this clip.
Until Black women go natural and love it, Black girls will always feel psychologically inferior. See, long hair is a European beauty trend. In African culture, long hair was never considered an aspect of beauty, not to the extent it is with Caucasian women. So you have bought into white women's concepts of beauty, not African.
And we know this to be a common theme, the cry to ditch European standards of beauty in favor of embracing African Nubian features, whether it's our kinky hair, or skin color, or features. The call to get Black women to stop doing practices like contouring their noses, using chemicals to burn their scalp in order to get the hair straight. We've all heard it before. And in theory, there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with encouraging a love of self. We've seen how the obsession with Caucasian beauty standards have ruined the self-esteem of children and adults alike. We've even seen the colorism and texturism in the natural hair movement, where there's this constant obsession to show the coils in your hair or 3A hair, and kinkier hair types are only valued when they're waist length or butt length. So we know that this is an issue. And as a woman who loves natural hair and has been natural for most of my entire life, I can totally understand and appreciate this message. My problem is this: lack of consistency in your arguments and your messaging suggests a lack of credibility. Because if you truly believe that we should ditch Caucasian standards of grooming and beauty, then why is it that some of the most radical anti-white supremacists, anti-Babylon, anti-everything, those groups of men continue to dress and act like white men? Why have they bought into the lie that to look groomed, presentable, and distinguished, they have to dress in a white man's dinner suit? The Nation of Islam and many others, we see them time and time again dressed this way. If we accept that Black women, by virtue of them wearing Caucasian hairstyles, are subconsciously trying to look white or subconsciously feel that their Black features are inferior, then wouldn't the same logic apply to the white man's business attire? What is it are you saying about your personal view of what cleanliness and elegance is if you can't dress as an African man? How is it not alarming that Sizzler, who is a Pan-African Bobo Rasta man, is constantly seen performing and dressed in bow ties? Doesn't this seem odd to anyone? And of course, I am cognizant of the fact that we live under an oppressive system that sometimes requires or forces us to code switch, to use subversive methods. These methods would sometimes require the oppressed to talk and dress like massa. We saw it in the 60s and other movements where men like Elijah Muhammad, in order to sort of instill some more pride in the Black man, employed a dress code which was relevant at that time. You know, just out of slavery, just out of Jim Crow. We can argue or we can see where in that time, in that moment, under those circumstances, maybe it was necessary to use that as a tool to uplift people, to uplift the image of the Black man, to instill some pride in a set of people that were completely shaken. But if Elijah Muhammad needed to dress in three-piece suits 60, 70 years ago in order to boost the morale of black men, why is it relevant now? If Marcus Garvey dressed in Eurocentric military gear over 100 years ago to make a point, aren't we duty bound to change that now that we have increased knowledge, increased exposure, more of us travel to and live in the continent? Why is this acceptable? There are no female artists of the caliber of Sizzla who could come on the stage and be taken seriously, dressed the way he dresses. Whether it's Nina Simone, Janine, Queen Ifrica, any woman who declares herself to be pro-black, pro-Africa, conscious, would be expected to display that in her fashion, in her garb. Why do we have a different standard for men who are supposed to be leaders? Why would the same set of people who would criticize a conscious female artist for wearing blonde hair feel comfortable when Sizzla is dressed like he's going to the finest gala in some part of Paris? And what's wrong with traditional African clothing? Going back to what Umar said, what message are we giving to young people? We travel to Africa, we talk about how we are proud to be Africans. Why can't we dress in traditional African clothing? If it's not some white-owned brand, it's some jeans made in China. And we see where others have done it. Capleton did it and it became his trademark, a beautiful one at that. If we are to believe that presenting ourselves in our authentic African state is so relevant, then why aren't you doing it? In the same way, I would look ridiculous wearing a wig like this, talking some pro-black repatriation message. It's the same way you look ridiculous in a bow tie, my guy. It's no different. We expect that men should hold themselves to the same or even higher standards that they hold women to. Listen to Moot.
Black woman, why is it that the black woman is so obsessed with extension? Extension of our body parts and other parts, that is our parts. Why is it that black woman have an extension eyelash, extension ear, extension breast, extension bottom, extension fingernail? What the hell is going on?
No, Muta, what the hell is going on with our men? That's the question we need to ask. We have a problem in our community where the men think that they are above reproach. We see you dressed as Jane Brown. We're not fools, we're not blind. You can't hide behind rhetoric of talking black and dressing white anymore. We are in the age of truth, and we will call out all inconsistencies. Here's a revolutionary notion for black men: lead by example. Subscribe and follow for more.